Johnson, and this is focused on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Boakai, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, current affairs, hey, reliable information, history, talking about culture, hey, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tough Talking Thursday on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we're broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. We are also broadcasting live on Kia Radio FM 95.9 in Monrovia. That's the Kia network and TV right there in Monrovia. This is Tough Talking Thursday, and we are glad to be here. Let me welcome our fellow panelists, starting with our producer at the Kia FM studio in Monrovia, Mr. George Goe. George, welcome to the show.
Okay, good evening. Good evening, folks, wherever you are. And also welcome to Kia Radio 95.9.
Thank you, George. Let me welcome our resident economist, Mr. Thomas Kane, who's joining us from Addis. Welcome, Thomas.
Thank you, Dennis. Hi to all the listeners in the U.S. and Liberia. It's good to be back on the show.
Thank you. Let me also welcome the new progressive commentator, Ms. Dr. Clarence R. Pearson. Welcome, Doc.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure to be on the show tonight. I want to say hi to the people of the beautiful land of Liberty, Liberia, our sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, and to my esteemed panelists and Georgie in studio there. It's a pleasure to be on tonight, Dennis.
We want to welcome all our viewers around the globe. We want to welcome for the first time our viewers in Monrovia and all other parts of Liberia on Tough Talking Thursday. Every Thursday at 4 o'clock, we're going to be talking tough on current issues. Tonight, or this afternoon, we're going to be talking about the University of Liberia student protest. The University of Liberia student protests have gone from campus to the streets and even to the LFA office. What's going on here? Do we turn over the running of the country to these LU guys, or what do we do? We're going to be talking tough on that one. Also, LACC, that's the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, has published an update of its investigation. It said completed. We want to find out what really does that mean and what are we up to here. Also, the Senate is probing into the executive for buying luxury cars that are over the 45,000 limit, as if 45,000 should even be the price. Last and definitely not the least, we will be looking at President Boakai, who dedicated the non-compliant blocked salaries to one child, one chair presidential initiative. Some time ago, Those who were not compliant with their asset declaration were suspended. Their salaries blocked, and the salary they're supposed to get will go to a project and a presidential initiative called the One Child, One Chair Initiative. What is that all about? Can you move money like that? We'll find out. Again, let's start with the University of Liberia students. I mean, I don't know which of you graduated from the University of Liberia. I didn't, but I really want to, and hopefully, even in my old age, I will go back and finish up what I started. But Clarence, the University of Liberia students, they are angry. They were on the campus of the university demonstrating because of the art and draft program that was halted. We also saw that they went to the LFA office and said they don't want the president of the LFA because he is not a Liberian citizen. Before we even start, I want to play a clip of the LU students. They are according to them, member of the Student Unification Party. That's a campus-based party.
So, welcome to Hot Live. My name is Nathaniel Sie. I'm here at the Liberia Football Association headquarters.
That's just a snippet of that. Mr. Dr. Pearson, what do the students want?
All right, Dennis, just thank you. Just a disclaimer, I am a graduate of the University of Liberia. Okay. Up to now, I'm still a proud student of that university. I think to begin with, it is safe to say that it's unfortunate that we have a society where young people who could be productive citizens and contributing towards the peace and security of our country will be constrained for whatever reason to be out and about agitating for what they feel is a neglect of their rights, and they are advocating for their rights in whatever way they chose to proceed. However, I want to say quite clearly that I do not support any form of violence that will lead to destruction of lives and property. But having said that, this just goes to say, when President Boakai just the other day mentioned in his cabinet meeting that because of the lack of opportunities, these young people is expected to be out there and agitating for what they feel is their right to have opportunities. And I think this is some of the things that we are going to see happening more. I did follow another incident with marketers who were also complaining about the markets being taken from them because they're selling on the streets. And then with no recourse, I've seen homes being broken because they are in the alleys. I think we'll see more of such disenchantment across the country with people who feel disenfranchised. I think it just goes to say that there's still more work to be done, Dennis, and our kids should be in school with the right opportunities and equipments that will keep them in school. When they graduate, they should have the opportunities to be able to work. And I think maybe we have the opportunity to say some of the things that we can possibly do to change the narrative so that our people cannot have their kids and their children out there in the streets being misled and misguided by politicians that we've seen over the years.
Right. You use a very key word, constraint. What constrained the University of Liberia students to go to the LFA headquarters and throw stones?
So if you following incidences across the world, even in Africa, a couple of a year back, I think a year or two back, there was this something called xenophobic in South Africa, when South Africans believed that they didn't have the opportunity to work, and then foreigners had jobs and were taking their jobs. It was a problem. And then we saw people taking to the streets and causing harm on foreigners. in the United States that we so much applaud, we see drastic measures being taken by the Trump administration to ensure that immigrants who have come into the country and have taken what they refer to as opportunities from citizens are being deported in mass. And Trump will boast about it, saying that he wants jobs to come back to Americans. So it is not a strange thing to see that when citizens do not have opportunities, the next thing that they will do is that they will look for reasons to find blame. And if they find that they have reason to accuse someone not having the rights that they have, to be in opportunities that they should be in, obviously they will agitate. So I think it's a lack of opportunities, just to put it bluntly, Dennis.
Yeah, thank you. Let me go to Thomas. Thomas, what do you make of the students' action both on the campus of the university and at the LFA headquarters?
Dennis, you broke out when you were explaining the reason why they went to the LFA headquarters. Why did they go there?
They don't want the president of LFA because they say he's not a Liberian citizen. And I understand he's been there since 2018.
Yeah, I think the LFA election is even being planned. I think we should be having one soon. So Mustafa Raji, I think, is on his way out. But I think the broader issue is the issue of the demonstration on the University of Liberia campus. Like you said, the add and drop period. I don't know what the real issue is. Is it that they've closed it or they've extended it?
Yeah, there's the add and drop button on the portal that is no longer there. In other words, they close it.
So you see that they are demonstrating for a button. The button is not on the portal. There's a demonstration that is triggered. So I mean, like I was saying, it's just this broader issue of how do we address issues in the country. And it's not only with the students, it's with everyone across the country. Every time there is a problem, you see people resort to violence. It's as if that's the only language that we understand. Whether it's the motorcyclists, whether it's the petty traders, with the police and everyone. And so when you listen to the police director, since he took over, he says that on a daily basis, the police have to go to quench out a fire that is somewhere in Monrovia. So I think this is just something that even the president has spoken about this, that the country is too noisy, people are demonstrating all over. This is something that we need to be able to tone down. Can there be constructive ways to be able to address the student body has a student government? Is there a way they can save with the administration? They have a new administrator, they have a new president. And I think she will be able to give a voice to them. So if a button is not on a platform, why don't you just go to the president's office and discuss that with them? Does that call for a demonstration? And for me, every time these students demonstrate, it is learning hours that they are losing. They should be in class, they should be learning. And then sometimes when they demonstrate, they go to the different campuses and put other people out of class. So why do you always have to resort to that approach of solving problem when there are constructive ways that you can use to be able to engage? I do get the point that if you don't, if you are not giving that audience, or if nobody listens to you, demonstrations are part of our constitution. They are guaranteed on our constitution. I'm not saying the students should not demonstrate, but should they routinely do that, even on issues like the button not be on the website? That's a technological issue. Is it that the website was malfunctioning? How long have they engaged before they actually got out on the street? So I think for me, it's not only the student, it's just about everyone trying to figure out a way that we can be able to solve problems and improve cohesiveness in the country. Because the only way we are going to develop is for us to have a quiet society where people can think critically about how we solve problems rather than being overwhelmed with demonstration and demonstration and demonstration.
But Tom, is it a place to go at the LFA headquarters to demand that the president is not a Liberian citizen and so should be vacated?
I mean, like I said from the beginning, there are ways that you can be able to address that. Have they, for instance, filed an information request? He's been there since, like you said, 2018. Have they gone to the LFA to say, give us information on the past election? What qualified him to be able to run? They will be able to give them those basic information that they need, or have they even validated? In many instances, citizenship is something people have national documents. You can be able to maybe get it from secondary sources to be able to validate. But even if, for instance, he is not a Liberian, should they demonstrate to go and pull him out of the office? Or there are legal means they can use to be able to challenge his nationality, and then they can go through whatever process that they can go through. But they literally went to that office, and that LFA office was just built. It's a new office. I think it was built for 3 million or some more million. Why if they have vandalized that place? So I think it's just going back to the point I was making. We should find several ways to be able to address and solve these problems rather than using violence.
Thank you. Mr. Namwe, you were once a student on the Cottleton University campus, and you were active in student politics. Is there something that, I mean, times have changed, so I don't expect what you did 30 years ago to be the same thing. But what you make of, I'm revealing something here different.
Dennis, you just did. I mean, anyway, listen, it is good to be here, Thomas, Dr. Pearson, Dennis, nice joining you, and also the audience as well. Yeah, just like Thomas, I too struggled understanding the university. I mean, the LFA beef. Like Thomas said, there are procedures, that could be followed. I hope they have exhausted, whatever, redress is available to them. They have remedies. As to the University of Liberia, I had to, delve into some of the material, and just like you indicated, I think the major issue there seems to be the add button, which I think has been removed from the portal. But I understand they're taking midterms now. I mean, when you and I were at the university, you don't add again around midterm, you drop. So I don't understand, how this is even possible. But I heard one of the students saying, I think for a couple of weeks, he said maybe 2 or 3 weeks now, they have been auditing some classes, and they had their list on some supplemental list, and I guess they were hoping to be added to the classes. I understand. But it seems to me the crux of the matter is funding. One of the students was alleging that the agency that's managing or providing the e-portal, I think they owed them some $60,000 or something like that, and it appears that the agency may have intentionally, I guess, in protest, whatever it is. So that is that, and then they talked about transportation, I believe, commuting from the big campus. The bottom line is everything seems to be tied to funding, and so. If you remember, Dennis, when the new president was appointed, that is what most of us were saying, that she has a job cut out for her. But we were hoping, given her international experience and exposure, that she would be able to go out there and find funding outside of the government structure, because she had extensive experience in grant writing and all of that. So we were really hoping that she would be able to get out there and find funding that will help us, that will help her and help the cash-strapped institution, do a better job. Because we worried that she will not have time to address all of these because they were all coming at her at once. And so, she's been there about 2 months now or so. I don't think that's time enough yet, but notwithstanding, our guys are impatient. But that was our fear, that she will not have the resources she needs to address these myriad of problems that she has to deal with. And interestingly, the children, one of the things they mentioned is the bathroom, which she herself mentioned in her inaugural speech, that it would have been one of the things that she would have taken care of. Apparently, that has not happened. And so the students, I believe,
Mr. Number, you mentioned funding.
Yes.
Right. And when we talk about funding, we're talking about usage. We're talking about the Trump era, right? So I think I want to agree with you that the expectation was she was going to go out there and look for money because we have a country where we depend on outsiders to fund it. So if you
Right.
square that with what's going on currently in the US, with even Ivy School being defunded, or Ministry of Education being almost dismantled,
Right.
what do you think we're going to do now?
So that is a big question, Dennis. And again, like I said, she has a job cut out for her. But I don't know what she's gonna do in this instance. I'm hoping that one of the students indicated that they had because I thought one of her problems was that she was not communicating her difficulties. But one of the students said he believed they may have had over 15 face-to-face meeting student leaders and the administration, and then they had written her 5 different times to communicate. So I think she's engaging. It's just that I think she's having difficulty sourcing out the funding to address these problems. I think that's where her difficulty is.
Thank you. Tom, does it appear to you that the students really understand why they are at the university, or they see their work of advocacy more than the academic? I mean, I'm fine with looking in. Does it appear like that to you?
So there are a couple of things that have changed, and except if you follow closely, you might not be able to situate yourself in the changes that are taking place. I think in the 1970s and in the 1980s, when we had a one-party rule in Liberia, the university campus, especially the student population, where we did not have civil society, was the voice of consciousness. And it was that group of people who challenged the one party regime until political parties were established. We've moved slightly beyond that now. We have multi party democracy, we have a very vibrant civil society. But I think the students still see that historical responsibility to be able to continue to advocate for good governance, to be able to advocate for justice, for social inclusion, all of that. So I don't think they are ready to concede that space to whatever civil society that is out there or even the political parties. And I think they should continue to do that because they are part of the enlightened segment of the society. I think the motto for the university is light in the darkness. So they should definitely continue to play that role. What have happened over time is that their voice has diminished because when there is an issue, before sometimes the students even come out, civil society organizations will have put up 10, 15 press releases and all of that. But still, they continue to come up and talk against the ills that do take place in society. My response normally to what happens is that when the students come and speak on issue is that I link it to the lack of governance or good governance in the country. Because in many instances, things that they are speaking about are things that are related to poor governance. It's either the state is not delivering services to them as a student body, or the state is not following the rule of law, the state is violating existing rules and laws that are on the book. So if you listen to them carefully, in some instances, they have legitimate claims about what they are talking about, even though civil society and other people are talking about it. So I still think that's something that we need to encourage. But again, like you were saying from the beginning, how do they make sure that that is being done in a constructive manner so that they don't resort to violence? You can still be able to speak on national issues without mixing it with violence. So I think they should continue to do it. In some instances, I think they should research better because sometimes they come and speak about issues and they've not really investigated. They don't go down to the bottom of things that they speak on. So I think they just need to find a balance, but they have to realize that we are no longer in the 1970s, we are no longer in the 80s, that there are a lot of actors that are on the stage, and therefore they need to find a way to carve out a space for themselves if they should continue to become a body that is going to advocate for good governance moving forward. You are muted.
Dr. Pearson, there are allegations that students have been manipulated, they're being used. In other words, somebody is using their mouth to chew pepper. But I don't think that is anything new. So, for instance, we see that during the regime of President Weah, we saw PROSA that was being more pro-government, and then you have SOUP that was being opposed to government. And even if you go back in a day, you will see ASAP and SOUP, and all these things have been going on. Now there are people pointing fingers that because elections are coming up for LFA, they have been used to do the dirty work of people who wants Rashid's job.
But Dennis, I would think that is the beauty of democracy, and that is the game of politics. As long as the actions are within the confines of the law, these things will always happen. I think I agree with Thomas when he says that the important thing is that there should be a space, a safe space where they can exercise their political emotions and express their intents and their feelings. And like you said, I also agree that most of the time the things that they are talking about are facts.
But they are stepping on the rights of others when they throw stones. So that invalidates their stand.
Say that again.
I said they are stepping on the toes of, they are violating the rights of others in the process. So that is invalidating their whatever they are after.
Well, Dennis. Well, I can't say that for a fact.
I mean, I saw that in the LFA video when they were throwing stones.
No, I can't say that for a fact, Dennis. There has to be an investigation for you to levy the accusation. And if the police can come up with a police report on what happened and what transpired, most of the time the videos that we see on social media don't say the whole story. I'm not trying to defend them because I grabbed it from there, but that's just the fact. All right. So a little video clip does not say the full story. So I think any violence, like I said from the beginning, should be condemned. They should not be part of our body politics. But I was just trying to convey to you that's politics. That's how it works. You know, people love it. People make moves. But I think the University of Liberia has been a conscious voice of the mass population of Liberian people. And while some of them might be induced, like you are saying, to do what they do, for the most part, they are a force for good. Okay, I want to say that before I drop the line, Dennis. Listen, I heard when Thomas mentioned the issue of sometimes the guys don't speak from facts and they need to do some research. I agree, but again, it goes to say that we have a society where our governance system really do not provide the information that are necessary to convey what is happening in government. For example, we do not get the quality of reports that we need from government. We do not get the quality statistical information that we need. Majority of the time, we rely on outside sources, international bodies, reports. So I think we need to step up governance in our country. I think we should have a more open society where there's access to information. And if the LFA boss is accused of siphoning money that were meant for sports development, then there should be reports that clarify that. If he's being questioned for in terms of his nationality, there should be a clear-cut statement with facts that clarifies that. It shouldn't be something, just condemned and kept in quiet, and then the kids or the young men are suppressed to keep quiet. No, if you are accused, and you feel you got the relevant information to clear the doubts of the public, come forth and provide information. I think that's how we should do governance in the country. Let's be open and transparent.
Thank you. And if the proper channel is not followed, or Mr. Nabi, that's what I was saying. Doesn't it invalidate their stand? But more to that, isn't it an illusion for the students of the university, SOUP in particular, to think that they are the consciousness of the society? They should be doing X, Y, Z. They should be making sure that government is run a certain way. Is that their work? And Tom talked about the fact. The issue of Rashid being a foreigner is not new. According to my investigation, that came up before, and he clarified that his mother is from Cape Mount, I think a Vi woman, and his father is a Nigerian, and he was born in Liberia. And all through, he's been a Liberian. But if you are naming people, even if you are Liberian, fathers name children, so definitely they're going to give him a Nigerian name. So these issues are not new.
Dennis, let me give you this. Let me give you this joke, and I think you will laugh about it. Even Barack Obama, when he was running to be
I'm not
president,
gonna laugh.
uh,
It's not funny.
Donald Trump asked him for his birth certificate. He questioned the man's birth certificate because he felt the man was from Africa. I mean, this is not new. And for transparency's sake, the young man disclosed and he showed proof of his nationality as a natural born American. So I don't see anything wrong with that.
No,
And I
Donald
think
Trump, hold on, Clarence. Donald Trump did not go to Chicago and throw stones at Obama for not presenting his birth certificate. He did not beat up people. He did not force entry into his Senate office.
Then the allegations, those are allegations.
They're not allegations.
Those are allegations. Let me say this.
Right.
When you want to accuse the vanguard student of the Unification Party, you want to accuse PROSA and other a legitimate conscience of our society in the context of Liberian politics, you got to come stronger. You got to come with proof. You got to come with evidence. Let the police investigate the matter. Let them come up with a national police report on the issue, and then we can go from there. Like I said, we condemn every form of violence, whatever way it comes. But the context in which we speak is that when our own money on the farm, when our own money in the market, when our own money selling along the streets do not have a voice, and when the markets are being seized by police and thrown in the pickup butt and cannot be accounted for, when the homes are being broken down because they don't have a voice, there was someone who was building out and build a business because they got money, got title. So when the sons and daughters are speaking for them, that's the context within the country runs politically. So we should protect their voice, and I strongly believe that if you want to throw some allegations, please come with a police report and some facts.
No, Clarence, that is cheap, because when we saw Christopher Waters Susuli be brutalized to the point of death, right? We saw that on camera. I don't think you were asking for a police report. In fact, the police report even muddied the water. But let me go to Victor. For Victor, I'll ask you your question. Let me get your take. Is it an illusion, or really students supposed to be thinking that they are the one leading us here?
You know, look, I hate to dwell on the minutia, but sometimes the minutia helps to clarify the matter. The student, I heard some of the students who are complaining that the people out in the streets don't represent them. There was another student who was claiming that the guys who were disrupting classes might have probably been 50 or so people. That is concerning, because we all know, even in the struggle, there are agent provocateurs. They will come in there to use the struggle for self-aggrandizement. I know that the Student Unification Party had said they were planning, there was a meeting that should have happened yesterday. The few of them who went to the press, they were even unaware of the group that started, the agitation to stop classes. They are accusing PROSA. So you're quite right. I am not sure to what extent what is happening is being driven by the issues. And I don't even want to talk about the LFA, because I have absolutely no clue about why and how this had the University of Liberia students have to, to do with LFA. There are processes, just like I believe Dr. Pearson is saying, or Mr. Kane. The students, they're supposed to be the change that they want to see in society. If we are agitating for the government, for our leaders to do the right thing and work within the rule of law, I think throwing students out of that, to me, is not representative of the student population that we all know, that we all be a part of. What they're doing right now is they're agitating, in my understanding, on behalf of certain people, and I think there's some credibility to the allegations that some of these people may have been paid. I don't think they truly represent, because I understand there is a large segment of the student population that really wanted to dialogue with the university, understanding the constraints that they're faced with, and find a way out of it. How is it? Isn't it suspicious that this is coming on the heel of midterm? Because I also know when I was in school, there is always that tension. There's some students who may not be ready for the midterm. And I'm not saying this is what is happening here, but these are all little minutiae that need to be taken into consideration. I think before I stand with the students, the students always, they agitate for the struggle there, the voice of the voiceless. But there are times I think we need to take time to understand the issues at stake here. I'm having trouble understanding right now why classes are being disrupted.
Thank you, Tom. I want you to conclude as the way forward, but don't you think this whole idea of the struggle is old? But how do we move forward now? How do we conclude?
Mr. Nangbe spoke about the issue of resources earlier. So this is what I was saying. As a student body, you also have to follow what is happening nationally. Because at this point in time, Liberia is in a very difficult position when it comes to resources and all of that. Like he said earlier, when the current president was appointed, there was this expectation that she was going to come in, she will use her global connections to be able to get additional resources into the university to be able to move the university forward. And I think she's been doing that because I did follow that she was in the US. I think she went back to Georgia Tech and some of the universities that are out there to go and raise resources to support the university, which is very laudable. But in 2-3 months, even if there are grant proposals that you write and send out there, it's just too early for them to be approved. In the universities in the US, everyone is being very careful because sometimes some of the fundings that they were getting from the state for research and other things themselves is being canceled. So everybody is holding tight on whatever little resources they have. So the students need to realize that in this kind of fiscal constrained environment that we are in, where resources are limited, there is going to be a knock on some of the services that they do benefit from. But that should not take the fact away that some of the issues that they have been historically facing challenges with buses, for instance. I saw one of my colleagues uploaded a video where the students were entering a truck, these trucks that bring plane to Monrovia. That should not be happening. There should be buses taking these people from their main campus to carry them to Fender. That's why the Chinese built that university for us. Many years ago, there was a plan to move all the undergraduate programs to that university or to that campus. It did not happen. So the resource constraint has been historical. They've been working towards solving it. The students just need to realize that at this point we are in, the government is in a bit of a problem because some of the resources that we're getting from other development partners is being reduced. So I think they also need to understand where we are and then work with the administration for us to be able to sail through this time. And eventually, they can be able to advocate more for some of these services that they need to benefit from to be brought back on stream so that they can move forward.
Thank you. If you're just joining us, this is Tough Talking Thursday, and we are live on Kia FM 95.9. That takes us to our LACC investigation. LACC put out a report, and it says, pursuant to our press release on March 18, 2025, in which we informed the public that we will share a summarized report of our annual activity, please find below a report detailing the cases of investigation that were completed for the year 2024. We also published the cases completed for the first quarter in April 2025. These cases have been concluded, though we are currently working with the courts to secure indictments because there's only one court in Maserado handling corruption cases. The lack of a specialized anti-corruption court remains our primary challenge in the fight against corruption. And then they went on, they have their chart, the case, for instance, Boakai Washington Institute, the nature of the case, allegation of fraud, tax evasion, and administrative malpractice. The category is formal complaint. The amount is $25,000, and the status is completed. Right? Dr. Pearson, we saw the LACC report. I shared a copy with you, and it says something to jubilate.
I think there's two sides to this coin, and the first for me is the fact that they even attempted to make a report. I think it's commendable, and that's something we should tell them thank you for and encourage them to do more. But the other side of the coin is that President Boakai, and people usually will tend to want to disagree with him, but I think he has weakened integrity institution. I think that is just a bluff. Because if you look at the situation of that report, first of all, there's no clarity to that report. If you tell me saying completed, it means to say the case is done with.
Investigation completed.
So is it the investigation that is? Look, I know people want to be history, want to criticize, but listen to this. There's nothing on that summary that says this report is primarily investigation. They left it. They didn't clarify that at all. All right. They just said these are cases that we've received and they're completed. For me, that does not say much. That does not provide clarity. Someone told me that they don't want people to be aware that they're going to be going after them, but at the same time they have issued some people letters that clear them of all wrongdoing. So it doesn't make sense to me. So if we're 20 in a room and you clear 10 people and then you keep 10 behind, obviously I know that you still have me on the consideration for prosecution. So I think for us to have better accounting for that list that they put up, we should actually see cases that are undergoing investigation. We should see cases that are then investigation complete. We should see cases that are pending prosecution. We should see active cases for prosecution, and we should see cases that are successfully prosecuted, and last but not the least, cases that were just dismissed because there was no facts to that. And the second thing I saw with that whole thing is that where is the national legislature with the House of Representatives with the issue of the alleged bribery? I mean, for me, it's very disturbing. Who took that from the list? And that's a question I think the chair lady of the boss of the LACC should answer. Those are my concerns that I have with that report. But I think on the overall, it's a good thing that they're attempting to make a report.
Yes, I want to agree with you on the extra columns being added to say, this case is pending. This one is at this place, because they completed, even though you're saying completed. And Mr. Nambe, my question to you is, the issue of specialized court, that's the excuse we heard long time. But then the new amendment granted the LACC prosecutorial power. I also interviewed some lawyers that tell me that, hey, you don't only have to take the case to criminal court in Monrovia. You can go to Bowman, you can go to McGibby, you can even take the case to somewhere else. So it doesn't have to necessarily be in Monrovia. I don't know why they're still using this as an excuse.
I have heard that argument being made too. I didn't even know that initially they didn't have prosecutorial powers, but now that they do, and I agree with you and Dr. Pearson. I think it's a misnomer to label a case that is pending prosecution as completed. I think those cases that they have concluded are clear. I will understand if they label those cases as being completed, but for the cases that are yet to go to court, to label them as completed, I think that's confusing, and I think that doesn't sound right. I've heard the argument that they don't need to wait. I understand one of the problems they're having is that the court in Monrovia, this criminal code C, is backlogged or something like that. These cases, I think they're high, priority cases. I agree with the argument that they need to find a way to dispose of these cases, and I guess that's where Dr. Pearson's argument comes in about the funding. Because I understand these integrity institutions in themselves, they're struggling for funding. I don't know. I know the LACC, I think they had 700,000 appropriated. Then that was increased, I think, to 1.3 million or whatever it is. I don't know what that budget was for. I mean, I was hoping that part of that money was intended for that kind of purpose. So I don't know why they're not, but I agree that those cases that are yet to go to court, they shouldn't be labeled completed because that is confusing.
Here's the sample, that's how the report look, and it says completed. Is where you get it from. Tom, the LACC, if some people are saying that Dr. Pearson said this is a bluff. In the first place, there are some cases that he's looking for, like the alleged bribery case in the legislature. They said they completed up to the first quarter of 2025, and that case, I think, should fall in that first quarter, and it's not there. Where is it? Do you see this? Mr. Number says misnomer, and Dr. Pearson says it's a bluff. What do you say?
So I think there is an improvement here that we have to look at. Have the LACC been even doing this in the past? In some instances, sometimes it's only on website, and you have to dig through the website before you are able to see that.
In other words, we give them the day well trophy. That's what you're saying.
It depends on what you want to give them. But I actually wanted to go to the issue of the prosecutorial power that you spoke about. Before the last law was amended, the LACC had to take all of their cases to the Ministry of Justice, and that was the bottleneck. Now they are giving direct prosecutorial power. They're saying give us a specialized anti-corruption court. And it's not the LACC is not the only one advocating for that. For the past couple of years, even development partners and all of that gave support to transparency and accountability, anti-corruption work, have been pushing for that. So for me, given the kind of context that we are in right now, where we have so much limited funds in the country and we need to make sure that they are used efficiently, effectively, why don't you give the LACC what they are asking for? And then let's see what the LACC is going to ask for next. You needed prosecutorial power, direct prosecutorial power, we give it to you. You want a specialized court, here is it. Maybe then they will say, give us a dedicated lane so that when we are leaving from Pinsville to Central Monrovia to our offices, we don't want anyone to stand in our way. We want to get to office on time. We want to make sure we can prosecute the cases on time. So I think the legislature and all the stakeholders on the ground, given the situation that we are in, give LACC this direct or this specialized court. Because you are already working on asset recovery issues. If there's a case that comes from the asset recovery side, it will have to go to court. If there's a case that comes from the LACC, it's going to go to court. And what I do see with the LACC right now, they seem to be very, very overwhelmed with current corruption cases. So every time there's a Facebook post, somebody says there's something happening in that agency, the LACC is there in the morning. They ask people to come over to them. So I don't see them looking backwards. I see them looking present and moving forward. So if they are preoccupied with that and they are giving us some report, I don't have a problem with the issue of complete because they said these are investigations. The way the LACC team work, there's something that comes up. Sometimes it comes up through a whistleblower. Somebody writes a letter and say, LACC, there's a procurement process that is going on in my entity where I'm working. I'm not satisfied with the way it's going, the way the bid committee was set up, the way they advertise it. It did not follow the required guidelines that it needed to follow. So I want you to come in and investigate. So the LACC has a team of investigators. They will come and do their investigation. Sometimes the LACC doesn't have the capacity to do the investigation by themselves. They liaise with the LMP. Sometimes they liaise with other law enforcement agencies to do the investigation. When the investigations are complete, and then they see that their evidence is strong enough for them to go to court, that's the time they start the prosecution or side of things. And this is where
let me stop it. Let me interject something, right? Because we see other cases. Let's say the legislature, their case, right? That they will start today, the next day, this case is at the Supreme Court. But it's only with this LACC that we have to go through. Oh, we need this, we need this one, we need that one, right? So when are we going to see an LACC case this year that is going to be as fast as the Funati and other people case going straight to the... I mean, when are we going to have a case that is just fast on this corruption thing instead of all the excuses that we always hear?
No, but there's a difference between...
I understand the difference, but I want to see something to being, fast, just like other cases.
Yes, you can be fast, then you go and lose the case. This is why they have to be very careful because these are criminal-related cases. They have to make sure that their evidences are very strong. And this is the problem that used to be between LACC and the Ministry of Justice. They bring a case, the Ministry of Justice goes to court, and then they lose the case. And they come back and say, LACC, your evidence was not strong enough for us to have won the case. And so it brings a rift between them. Now that is gone. But the reason why they have to be very careful with this is that they don't want to go to case and lose the case. Because I tell you, for instance, the case that happened in Magibi, I listened to the head of the LACC. People who sat down, there were recordings where they decided to share money among themselves. I think that those funds were provided by USAID for some health service delivery in Magibi. and people sat down. They were recorded. They were discussing how much each person is going to take. That case went to court, and they brought in these jurors to be able to decide the fate of those people. And the jurors said that the people did no wrong. They let them go. The LACC lost the case. So this is why they have to be very careful. But what I would say to the LACC is that we are not too interested in the cases, the investigations that you have completed. Historically, the problem with corruption and LACC work in Liberia is the lack of prosecution. They don't prosecute anybody. So sometimes they will go through the whole year. I think since the LACC was funded, you can count the number of cases that LACC has prosecuted and even won. And the resources they recover is very, very limited. So I think prosecution is what they need to go after. And that's why I think they should be given the specialized court. Let's see what they can do.
Right. Then, as you said, when we give them a specialized court, then they ask for a specialized judge, they ask for specialized lunch and specialized car. But anyway, that's a stretch. Let me welcome the political bulldog, Mr. Asuni Sie. Mr. Sie, George Yango, the Chief Executive Officer or CEO of the National Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Commission, has been apprehended by the agents of the LACC, right? In what is viewed as because they accuse him of corruption. They cited him to be there and he didn't. So at the time that the LACC is putting their report, I mean, I don't know, I don't remember the last time they did this. So we're getting good news from the LACC now. It looks like they have teeth to bite. Is that what you're thinking? That's what I'm thinking.
Well, Dennis, if they can arrest people, that's some kind of teeth.
Is the guy just bad lucky?
that is a show of strength. That is a way of implementing what they have as tools legally to apprehend people, to enforce the laws that they have been charged to enforce. So, anyone can be tempted to say, yeah, I think they're trying to bite on something here, except that, like you try to say, this guy might be the unlucky one. I've been following the discussion. You guys were talking whether or not the LACC has prosecutorial powers. It actually does. Then is based on my reading. Focus on Liberia is reporting yet that the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, LACC, has prosecutorial powers. According to the Amendment Act establishing the LACC in 2022, the commission is empowered to directly prosecute corruption cases. And talking about that,
specialized court since they got
this amendment was made to strengthen the commission's ability to tackle corruption more effectively in Liberia. Are you talking about courts?
Yeah, now they want specialized court.
Dennis, we have courts in Liberia. They want that the prosecutorial power and they have it, so they can go to court and prosecute any case. All right. When they say prosecutorial power, I don't think they're talking about a billing. They're talking about personnel who will have that legal right to go to court and hold people accountable in the court of law. They have that. All right. They also have that power to be able to investigate these individuals and as far as charge them with wrongdoing based on their investigation and the findings that they will come up with, and also based on the pieces of evidence that they will gather pointing to anything that is wrongful act, right? So they have prosecutorial power, and it is obvious that's what they're using. You are reporting that, talking about the news reports about they arresting an individual who is the head of the WAS Commission. So I want to clearly state the LACC does have the prosecutorial power it has asked for based on the amendment of the Act in 2022. So they need to really do a good job here. But then I also want to look at the LACC. It has come to my attention that the LACC is very selective. When there are cases in the media, when advocates, media institutions, citizens of Liberia who are active in advocacy and in politics and trying to flare out issues of accountability, And when the news is tasteful, then you will hear the LACC coming out with releases or making minor pronouncement here and there that they are up to the task. Now, if you look carefully, there are some individuals who news of misappropriation of funds or serious allegations of abusing public trust with funds being involved, the LACC can choose or has chosen in many cases or instances not to even respond. For example, now Minister of Presidential Affairs, Mr. Grisby, it was reported when this government was then government-elect, went to NASCO, where they took some money and got some cars, and that was a complete violation. We had a sitting government at the time, but then the government-elect at the time was assuming, executive powers right away. That is an abuse of power. The LACC to this point is yet to even tell us anything concerning that. And Dr. Pearson mentioned what we know to be an act of corruption that took place, at the legislature, where lawmakers now one time, now two times have been reported that they received money. We've seen evidence of that, of such money. The very LACC tried to call some of these people in, and that is the end. And the reason is because most of the lawmakers having to be on the side of the executive. The fact that this ballot is this selective, it undermines its, impartiality in holding people accountable. And let us say one last thing. Has the LACC itself been investigated? The LACC must be investigated before it can be deemed clean and credible to investigate other people. They are receiving government funds. I don't know when last the LACC was investigated. All right, they continue to receive government, funding. Whether or not those funding have been used for the intended purpose, we are yet to know. And so, yeah, they are very selective, and their work is based on allegations from citizens and so on and so forth. They have to do a better job, and I want to see the LACC be investigated and come out clean before I can take anything serious that they try to do here, because they are 100% selective. You are muted, Dennis.
Dr. George William, you will be the last one on this issue of the LACC.
I appreciate that.
So go ahead, Dad.
Were you inviting me in? Sorry about that. I think I joined Dr. Pearson in commending the LACC for the minimum amount level of work that they've put into putting out at least a report on their activities. I do, like many others, believe that the report reflecting any level of work completed is misleading. I think they can do better, find a better reference and nomenclature to represent what they've done. Liberians, like other speakers have said, Liberians are interested in seeing people brought to book. That being said, I think the argument about a specialized court presents for the government, and that hinges on the government's commitment to fighting corruption, is that there are opportunities. We have the LACC, we have the asset recovery, and we also have the Economics and War Crimes Court. I think together those three organizations require a process, a clearinghouse, a legal clearinghouse to execute and be more effective in the execution of their job. And so it is an opportunity for government. I will hope that the Senate and the House will jump on as soon as the House can straighten up its affairs, can jump on this opportunity and let us move our country forward. Because as it is, with what's going on in the House, it will truly undermine a lot of other activities, critical policy related decisions that need to be taken. So the House needs to straighten up itself. The judiciary needs to be speedy in terms of making a determination so that the rest of government functions healthily. And so I commend previous speakers who have commended the LACC. It's a start. We commend them highly. We hope they can go further, and with their requests and demands, we hope that those can be met sooner than later.
Dr. William, is the LACC picking and choosing who to prosecute? For instance, we don't see anything on Mr. Grisby, my own Sino brother.
So we have to start from somewhere. We have to start from somewhere. I am not and will not be in the business of accusing the LSCC for cherry picking who they prosecute and who they don't. Um, this is
Why
the
not?
first. This is the first report we.
Dr. William, they have not even picked up that case.
Now I like.
Oh, we have
Government and
with
how
your
that
audio.
is. Can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Because they didn't even pick up the
Yeah.
Grisby case.
Well, again, it's like a police officer on the street. You know, he will catch you for speeding, and you say, "But I wasn't the only one on the street speeding. There were other people." But it has to start from somewhere. I'm going to give LSCC the benefit of the doubt. Let's see where the current load of cases will go, and let's see how going forward other cases, purported cases like the Grisby, like the telecom, like the legislative bribery case. Let's see where and how such cases or speculation of such cases are treated in the doldrum of the LSCC. At this point, I'd like to see how they clear the docket with what they currently have.
Thank you. And while
Dennis,
you
can
are
I say
still on
something?
the floor, Dr. William, let me ask you this question on Senate probes executive for alleged use of over 45,000 luxury cars. The Senate, the legislative branch, saying, hey, every time they are accusing us of using cars, but the other people using cars that cost more than us. So we want to talk to them. And it started with what the immigration, not the head of the immigration commission said, right? So there is this probe. They want to call in ministers and directors for going over the 45,000 limit for cars. Is the Senate waking up to something here? I mean, they shouldn't even be writing 45,000 car every 3 years. What's your take on what the Senate is trying to do here?
I think, and I'll be honest with you, I think this Senate is losing its mind. I think our Senate needs to sit back and see where the country is and what laws can be promulgated to help move the country forward. Pursuing gossip in the public space, like the Senator Obama did in a recent hearing. The Senate Pro Tem pursuing hiring practices at the port. They're out of their mind. They need, look, our country has some serious structural issues. And until we deal with those fundamental issues, governance issues, we're going nowhere. Chasing, government ministers about $45,000 cars or more while you're riding a $45,000 car for 3 years, that's a travesty. It's a travesty. So this Senate needs to put its house in order. This Senate needs to provide and give Liberians the promise they trumpeted uh, in 2023, a regime of change. They have pursued no change. They've pursued no change. And we've gone 2 years already in this new regime, and seemingly Liberians are becoming depressed by what we're saying, and we need to transition. We need to transition. So the issue of cause, as important as it may be to some of them in the Senate, it isn't what Liberians are about at this moment. We need some structural governance, fundamental changes in government, and that needs to be pursued by the legislature. In this context, the Senate needs to pursue it since the House isn't in order at the moment.
Thank you, Victor. I mean, the bigger problem is the Senate going after the leaves instead of the root cause, because just the car is just a piece of the budget issue we're talking. With President Trump 2.0, things are drying out. Cars alone shouldn't be enough.
Yeah, I think it was Dr. Pearson or Mr. Khan, and one of them said, sounded like we should give, the Do Well trophy. I think we should commend them a little bit for even thinking along those
so
lines.
they get their own Do Well trophy too.
Exactly, they should get their own Do Well trophy. I think I've heard Senator Dillon say that not only the cars but reducing their pay. I think Senator Snow, who at one time said they were not being paid enough, he seems to be jumping on that bandwagon now. But yeah, I think the cuts that we're looking for really, I'm not sure if just doing that will deliver the cuts that we need. Look, here we are sitting here. There is the Ministry of Health, right? That is responsible for health, hygiene, or whatever it is. There is the water and sewer that is responsible for water treatment, everything. In the middle, smack in the middle, we got the Water and Hygiene Commission. What do we need that for? What does it do that water and sewer and all the Ministry of Health cannot do? This is the kind of waste we're talking about. And this is what we thought this president would take the scalpel to and cut out of the government. This is where that's where the real saving is going to come from. There are a lot of agencies that are duplicating functions, and they're all being paid, and they're being paid healthily. So, if the Senate wants to lead the effort to reduce costs from, going to $65,000, I think that's the new threshold that has been proposed now to bring it down to $45,000. I don't know how much that's going to save us. You heard what the government did when this whole stop order came. What did they do? They reduced gasoline allotment. That's the kind of places they're looking for savings. From 5,000 I think to 200,000 or whatever. I mean, from 500 gallons to I think 200 gallons.
And
I'm not sure how.
Exactly.
I am not sure. It will save a little bit, but the kind of savings we're looking for, I don't think they will come from these kind of places.
Tom, we saw our friend Ami Modad being kicked out because of the car issue, and we see that he was the only person so far. Now the car issue is back on the floor.
Thank you, Dennis. A couple of days ago, I was saying to my friend, the love of car is the root of evil in the government. If you love car too much, you love very expensive car, you are going to get yourself into problem. But I just wanted to take 30 seconds to talk about the LACC thing. Because over the past 2 days, what I have seen on social media is that everybody is posting to say, oh, my name is on the list that LACC published, but they've cleared me. So I get confused. How is it that you investigate people over a long period of time and you get to a point of saying that I have completed this investigation? I think this person is liable for $1 million. I think this person is liable for 125,000. And just few days after that, the person comes back to the public and say, LACC has cleared me. On what basis are these people coming out to say LACC has cleared them? Oh, I'm an integrity icon. LACC has already cleared me. So it's becoming really confusing. So then what is the actual list of people who you've investigated and you are ready to move forward with indictment? So I think this is something that LACC needs to come and actually clarify. On the vehicle issue, like we are all saying, when this whole USAID thing happened, and I think Saturday we'll talk about this, to me, I thought it was going to be an emergency that would trigger government-wide governance reforms and economic reforms to see how we can actually set the foundation to grow depending on ourselves. I don't think we've done a lot to be able to do these reforms. Maybe they are still work in the process, but to just handpick and say, oh, gasoline will cut, this crash car will cut, I don't think those are going to provide us the resources that we need to be able to invest to grow the economy and get ourselves out of the kind of poverty that we are in. On the car issue, I think this is where if we really, the government can engage the citizens on discussion, this is where all these issues will come on the table. If you go back to the citizens, you want them to pay taxes, you want them to be compliant, they will raise these issues. Should we continue to buy you for the $5,000 car? Perhaps it is not the amount, but the duration. We'll buy you for the $5,000, but for only 3 years. Perhaps we can buy you for the $5,000 car, but it will go for 6 years. So I think these are conversations that we need to have. And for me, with the Senate running behind executive officials, it brings it out into the public and it makes it part of the discussion agenda that we need to have a conversation around this moving forward. I think the head of GSA had recently said that the 45,000 is not even enough. They should raise it to 60. But I think when he went back to the Senate, he said he was misquoted. So he did not exactly mean that is what he said, because I was very confused about that. How can we be in a crisis where fiscal space is very limited and you as a head of the GSA advocating for vehicle prices to increase from 45,000 to 60,000? So I think like the Senate asked all of the executive, the ministers and deputy ministers to carry their vehicles so that they can check. The only thing that will do is that it's going to undermine the work of the government, because when everybody goes to the Senate to carry their vehicles, it's going to paralyze the government, and then it's going to cause an efficiency and effectiveness problem. But I think all of these expenditures across the government need to be checked, especially at this point in time.
And the Senate, you know, we have a history of when people go there. In fact, remember, Mr. CA, when the Minister of Internal Affairs, Destiny Newman, went there because of what he said. And so you can say something and go to the Senate and they even get confused more. So the immigration guy going there and say, oh, I was misquoted. I mean, the Senate investigation, you know, some go there and say, oh, you know, I'm sorry. And they say, okay, just say sorry and we'll let you go. So I don't know what this other Senate investigation is going to do. And what is driving them is, hey, all eyes are on us, but what's about the executive branch? So it's just, I think they're just saying the focus is on us. We want to put it back on the executive. Tom is looking at the bright side of it and say, okay, this will bring this in the discussion. But how many times have we not discussed it? How many times have Dylan not said that, hey, let's cut our salaries? And it's all just being lip service. Mr. C.
Dennis, thank you. You know, I will start with this. Dewey Trophy, our resident economist, Tom is giving LACC. And I also see focus on labor political energy Victor Namwe, you know, giving approval to Dewey Trophy. Let me raise my voice here. You know, Dewey Trophy is sheer nonsense. Sheer nonsense. Our country has not won the African Cup because of Dewey Trophy. All right, we have not gone anywhere. See how many Dewey Trophy we've won, and see where we are. If Dewey Trophy were good enough for our country, we'll be in a better place, Victor. Tom, we'll be in a better place. We don't have stable electricity. We don't have stable provision of water. We don't have roads. Our roads are bad because of Dewey Trophy. We have not been able to fight corruption in a serious way. We have not been able to recover stolen wealth in a serious way in our country, all because of Dewey Trophy. We need to cut this off. If we don't have the ability to do what is needed to be done, and we're just going to part somebody because they are trying to make efforts, and when those efforts are not serious, when those efforts will only short-lived for a month and go nowhere, then what is the meaning of that? How does that move the needle? We have an LACC, Dennis, that is giving extension for asset declaration. They are charged with responsibility to enforce the Code of Conduct law. The simplest part of the law is if you are appointed as an official of government, before you take your seat, you must tell us what you have and what you owe. That is the responsibility they have to enforce. Almost 99% of the government officials, including the president and the vice president, they fail. The LACC is the one giving the power by law. Our country gave them the power to be able to enforce it. They flunk big time. And what did they do? They don't even have the power to grant extension. The law they have been charged with to enforce did not give them any power or right to extend asset declaration. I'm ready for that debate. They cannot come up with their own laws here. It is nowhere in the law that you can give extension. It's not there. I read it. So where are they coming from by giving government official extension? Not only have they given their extension, they are going out begging them to respect the law when they are charged with the responsibility to ensure that these people should abide by the simplest form of law. My friend Emmanuel Ure Yakpa did it when he was appointed. Before he could take seat, he declared his assets. How is that difficult? So Dennis, that should give you a picture of how many people in government, including the president, the very lawmakers we're talking about, they have zero respect for the law. Now let me come to the legislature. You're talking about Senate here. Do we even have a Senate? We have a Senate in the name of Senate. We don't have Senate that's supposed to do what senators are supposed to do. In the voice of my own Grand Crew County brother, Peter Coleman, in the previous administration, he said, we have to turn our faces to confirm people. We knew these people were not qualified, they were not competent, that they would not be able to do the job, but we did it anyway because the president had appointed those people. Peter Coleman speaking. What a disappointment. It is the same thing with this very Senate that we're talking about. Dillon is in the Senate, the so-called light. This guy, before he could come to the legislature, said that he would not be able to even drive a $35,000 car, and he would buy a used car to use it. But when he got elected, he said the car that was available for his use was bought for Jerry Dindo Sharif, so he had to use it. Even though that car was worth over $45,000 car, a car of that value, he's promised that he will never ride as an official of government. He did it on day one. So then I tell you this one, we don't have lawmakers. You are a lawmaker. It's not only for you to make the law, you must respect the law. But they don't have any respect for the law. So what they're doing is not any accountability. So I will rest my case. So the day trophy thing here is a shared insanity. And the solution to the cars issue then is let all government officials be able to buy their own car from the money they will be giving. That is how Dennis Jai is getting a car. That is how Anthony C. is getting a car. That is how Victor Namwe is getting his car. That is how Clarence Pearson is getting a car. I don't know about Tom, who is with the World Bank. Now I know how he's going to get a car. Maybe, that is not a government institution. They might assign him a car. But the money they made is enough for them to buy their own cars. If they buy their own cars, they'll be able to buy
car. Yesterday, they were buying one car. Dr. Pearson.
But before that, Pearson, I think Anthony is overblowing this thing of saying, okay, you gave them trust. We didn't give LACC a pass. We just say, okay, thank you for publishing this list. You said you have completed this number of investigations. Thank you for. We are discussing it because the LACC published it. A couple of years ago, they could not even put out a list. They were just there. But to say anyone gave LACC a pass, it cannot be me because the LACC has a sister organization that is sitting right across Waterside in Freetown that is recovering millions of dollars for the government of Sierra Leone. And the LACC does none of that. Everyone that is appointed to LACC, they go through Waterside, they go to Freetown, they go and say they go for experience sharing or trip. Whatever they go and they say to them in Freetown as to what Ben Kefala is doing to recover money from the previous administration, they come right back in Liberia and they don't do any of that. Asele, they don't do prosecution. So if we really do a cost-benefit analysis of the money right here, I think this year the LACC has 2.1 million. If we do a cost-benefit analysis of the resources that we are pouring into LACC and see whether they'll be able to actually, their role is not only to make sure that money that is lost is recovered, is to also stop corruption.
Prevent it.
Yeah, to prevent it. Are they doing much to be able to prevent corruption? When it happens, are they able to recover the assets that are taken away from the state? For instance, the anti-corruption commission that is in Sierra Leone, every time an audit is done in Sierra Leone, By the time the audit report comes out, they take the audit report and go through it. Anything that is criminal in nature, that is related to corruption, they're not waiting for it to go to PAC in the house and then it dies somewhere along the road. Ben Kefala is going to follow you in that audit report. But the LACC, they don't bother with any audit report. Millions of audit reports are on the book. They don't have any time with it. Sometimes under their own investigation, they go and conduct. It ends up somewhere, they don't prosecute. Like I said, based on the situation that we are in right now, can we give this LACC a specialized anti-corruption code? And Dr. George spoke about that. Because the War and Economic Crimes Code, the economic piece that is there, anything that comes from that angle is going to end up in court. Criminal Code C is already overwhelmed. Will they be able to do all of that? And to me, I just conclude in 30 seconds, the establishment of the specialized anti-corruption code is not just going to benefit us domestically, but it sends a signal out there that we are ready to fight corruption, because as we are moving outside this aid world, the next thing we are going to focus on is attracting private sector investment. If we establish that code and it starts to work, we send a signal out there that we are fighting corruption, and therefore when you bring your money to invest in Liberia, it will be safe. So can we do this at this point in time?
The next 30 seconds.
Thank you, Dr. Pearson. You know you are very famous for saying if you get in the town, the song leader, that's the president everybody follows.
Yeah, and unfortunately for our country right now, President Boakai is the one that raising the song. I can take it further, another parable. You know, when you make a rice farm or cassava farm in the village, and your intention is to keep the groundhog and thing and the squirrel out of your farm, and you set your trap. If the town chief start rooting all the trap around the farm, and the squirrel and the groundhogs started eating the cassava, eating the rice, who are you to say anything when you just the youth in the town? President Boakai has dismantled all of the confidence that our integrity institution should have. Just by getting in power, he went after integrity institution. He's so bold that he even went at the National Elections Commission, the woman who stood her grounds against all odds and pronouncing president of the republic. He went after her. He was not even careful to say that is a dedicated role. We have to make noise. International community has to come through the back door and say, you cannot do this. So President Boakai has weakened our integrity institution, from the central bank to the GSC to the LACC to the PPCC. All the guys are shivering right now. LTA, everybody's shivering right now. If you are in any position that you can, I heard someone say, prevent corruption. These guys cannot prevent no corruption that President Boakai is not willing to take by the horn and nip it in the bud. So if President Boakai says that and Grace Bay steal over $500,000 before he can even get in office and keep Grace Bay, it's on Boakai. If President Boakai said that his nephew goes to Nokaa and there's $700,000 corruption case there in the first week of his government, and he says nothing about it, he's encouraging it. And the list goes on. Now, this is what I would say, Dennis. You know, I'm saddened for Liberia as it is. When you talk about the Senate, when we were growing up in Liberia, anytime we heard about the Senate, we heard that it was the House of Elders. And one thing I know about the House of Elders in our villages in Liberia is that the elders may not take the cut lines or the hoe, but they give the wisdom as to how to hold the cut lines, and you cut this stake in one blow. They tell you how to make the farm and what to make, at what time to make the farm, at what time to harvest. They are very clever people. So now we have a whole bunch of people in the legislature, from the House of Representatives to the House of Senate. These are all people who are there for the self-aggrandizement. They are there to serve their own interest. These people flaunt the laws. They got no regard for the law. They destroy our entire governance system without any remorse. Let me say this before I take a break here, Dennis. Now, let me say this, Dennis. The legislators are the one who makes the law. Why would you want to be calling somebody to tell them what kind of car they can buy, what kind of car they can buy, when you can pass the law in the House of Representatives and Senate to determine how we spend on vehicles, how we spend public money? We're crying here talking about having multiple institutions doing the same thing, and then they're telling us, President Boakai should take action when they can make laws and combine some of those institutions and nullify some of them by repealing those very acts that they themselves propagated to begin with. So, you know, Liberia, if we want to make any progress, we need good leaders. And I think we're lacking these leaders. And I think God should give us some courage to be able to stand up to them, walk to the executive mansion, walk to the Capitol building, walk to the offices and ask them to get out if they are not willing and ready to do the work of the people. No matter whether they got police truck or hot water truck or whatever the case is. No, listen, that's why we Liberians need to stand up. Things are not going to change if we just sit down, hold there and cry. We got to take action. And I think actions are needed now.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tough Talking Thursday. And we're going to discuss one more issue just for 1 minute each. And we bring on our callers. The number to call, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. I also want to remind you that we have our numbers from Monrovia that we're going to be sharing shortly. But tomorrow at 6 p.m., we're going to have Grandma Kpanan. This is the little girl who has taken the internet by storm. I mean, her comedy is just so funny. And so she and her sister, they are like 8 and 11 years old, and they are doing so great. So Grandma Kpanan and my Jay will be right here at 6 o'clock tomorrow for an interview. They'll be sitting down with me. Also, on Saturday at 7 p.m., political prisoners of the notorious Bele Yela from 1910 to 1990. My guest is Dr. Timothy Nevin, a historian, also former professor at Carpenter and Tottenham University. We're also going to have some former prisoners of Bele Yela. They will be here to tell you what it was like. There are people who suffer for the country and the democracy that we are enjoying today. So join us tomorrow at 7 p.m. for political prisoners of the notorious Bele Yela prison. Let me welcome George to announce the numbers in Monrovia. George, if you're there, the numbers to call.
Yes, sir. Okay, folks, let me say good evening again. And you are tuning in to Care Radio 95.9. And we are discussing Mama Liberia here on Care Radio 95.9. So, folks, wherever you are, if you're there, Dupont Road 72nd, Jacotown, West Point. The numbers to call the show 0770-573-477 and 0881-871-670 and 0770-573-477 and the Lone Star number 0881-871-670. These are the numbers to call in on the show this evening.
Thank you. One of the issues I have here, I want us to conclude. I'll give you each of you a minute each. Is President Boakai, at some point said those who did not declare their assets are suspended, and as soon as you declare your assets, suspension is lifted. So the CSA director, FOL democracy analyst Josiah Joker sees on that and say, "Hey, if you didn't declare your asset, I will block your salary." And so that salary, President Boakai, thought that was a brilliant idea. Say, well, that money, we're going to put that money somewhere because we need the money. So the President Boakai wants the CSA director to work with the Ministry of Education so that the funds from the black salary will be used to buy chairs for our high school. There's a special presidential initiative called One Child, One Chair. One child, one chair. Mr. CA. One child, one chair for the black money. What do you make of this presidential initiative and where the money is coming from to do this?
Well, Dennis, thank you. I really don't know what to say about this. The president is trying to find money for a program called One Child, One Chair. And he decided that all people who did not declare their asset and were suspended, and now that the CSA director said, look, if you are on a suspension, you're not going to work, then you're not going to get paid. So the money we're supposed to pay you, we will take it, and then that money can be used for something else. Now the president is saying, okay, I think we can use that money to buy chairs for Liberian students who probably don't have chair, or maybe, so they're trying to find ways to raise money. According to the memorandum released by the CSA, for people who didn't declare their asset, there's not much money that they're going to save. It's not much money. So I don't know what is the budget for this program, one child, one chair. So that is what they are going with. I really don't know what to say, or I don't have much to say about it. I am interested in, the whole LACC thing. The prosecutorial power people are talking about, I think they have it. And people talking about specialized code. I don't think they need a specialized code. We have courts in Liberia. Let them go to court and use their prosecutorial power to get these people accountable. Because if you say that now, Minister of Justice will say, myself to a name and a specialized code, so I will not go to the court.
We gotta move on from the LACC. But what I want you to say is, if we have so much money lying around, we're talking about the cars, we're talking about the money they make. And so if the president wants an initiative to buy chairs, I mean, the place to get money from, but to wait to say, well, somebody didn't declare their asset, and so the money they were supposed to get, I'm going to put it to chair. You think that's a serious initiative?
Well, it's not a serious initiative, but in their wisdom, that is what they can do. They think they're trying to be smart. They're finding ways of raising money. And in their judgment, that's what it is. If you ask me, is that the right way to raise money to get chairs needed for students in Liberia? I would say no. That is not a way to go. There can even be a better accountability measure than that.
Thank you. Victor, when we had our budget, our AAID, we said 30%, we're going to give 30%, the rest going to come from international partners and other places, right? It happens that didn't work out because, we had Trump 2.0. Now, the president is saying, we're going to use the money from the black salary. So if everybody complies tomorrow, that money is not coming. Your thoughts?
Yeah. And I think this is one of the moves that casts this government in the not so serious light. It is really, first of all, what does the law say? That you should seize people's salary, they don't comply. I don't think that's what the law says. I mean, the law is very clear. The president himself violated the law. You were supposed to declare before you even take office, and then you continue to declare while you're in office. He was in office more than, I don't know how long before he declared his asset. And that in itself, I think leads to the mixed messaging that are going out of this government. So yeah, like you're saying, if these people go and comply, then what? Are they going to give the money back to them? Or I don't understand that. But even more to the point, I think it was Dr. Pearson and others who were debating. The I don't want to use but who were debating what kind of problem does the problems that are plaguing the education system in Liberia, lack of chairs, that's the president's understanding of the problem that the people are faced with. There are volunteer teachers who don't get paid. Some of them are teaching high school graduates, teaching high school. Those are some of the problems we're talking about, and you're talking about chairs.
Yeah,
in fact, if that's the way if the chairs were the problem, that's how you identify money to put chairs in the classroom. Suppose all these people in the government had complied with the asset declaration, then there will be no chairs in the classroom. I don't understand. These are the kind of things that make you wonder, really, what is the thinking in this government? This does not promote any policy. It's just people floundering and just grabbing and groping in a dark, error, try and error, and then you try this, if it doesn't work, How is this even a policy? How?
Thank you.
First of all, why is he not able to compel the people that he appointed to serve in the government to declare their assets? He told the people they shouldn't come back to work. They're talking about seizing their assets, their salary. Is that what the law says? All these people can sue him and they get their money back. You know, I'm really confused here. To be honest
Thank
with
you,
you.
Dr. Pearson. You know, when we were traveling in Sino, when I left Dominica to walk to Plesecan with my, you know, there in the bush there are places where your reach is a rest area. So we face something to sit down. They call it fetigue. It's the fetigue they are using in Grand Crew in Mr. CS hometown, Southtown, in the high school to sit down. So having chair, one child, one chair is a very good initiative. You agree?
Venice, listen, I shouldn't say this before some people go after it, but we know what and how important having chairs is for schools in Liberia, right? So I don't think our intention here is to say that it is not important, but the mere fact that a whole country and a whole president will see that as a national project, leaving the larger problems that are there, you know, that is the least things we should be thinking about. Let me just say the quote before you call me up, Dennis.
Yeah.
When they call the guys on break from agricultural
Give Dennis he's looking for another Date World Trophy to hand out. Let him go ahead.
Yeah, when there's no agricultural break, no agriculture they're doing, but when they call them back from agricultural break, that they just say they're going to on break just now, they pay the guys millions. Where do they get that kind of $1 million from so quick? Now that they got to wait for somebody's salary to be whether it's legal or not, that's not the issue for me right now. But to wait to go pick somebody's salary up that you got by chance, and then you say 1 man, 1 chair. Are we supposed to be even talking about chairs in the 21st century in Liberia? You know, if my father come to my house just now and tell me, say, son, I'm talking about finding a way to buy you trouser, I mean, I would take his own down for on him and carry to the tailor to sew me more than one. Because that it's beyond reason. No, you don't do that. You know, I told somebody one time, and I will say this year, Dennis, then I shut up because I want to make President Boakai and others who love him vex. Let me tell you this: when you have not seen certain things in life before, and to you it is a luxury. Like President Boakai said, you know, when I was coming up, I did not see there. I used to walk 1,000 miles to go to one school and sit down in the backyard. When you have not seen chair, to you chair is important. But chair, the importance of chair is not on the basis of, you know, being a privilege. No, it's not. It's not a luxury. It's a common necessity. It's something that must just be there. As you walk in the classroom, chairs should be there. Then President Boakai should come and tell me in the 21st century, we're talking about chairs when you're riding $1.2 million vehicles. Then we're talking about chairs. President Boakai wore one shoe the other day that cost $800 plus. You walking on indebted month with $800 plus shoe. We're talking about chairs.
How you know which investigation revealed that the shoe cost $800?
Oh, Dennis, if I tell you the quote I'm wearing right now, you can go look it up. We are in a global world right now. If I tell you a name brand right now, you go look it up. You'll see the cost of it, unless you tell me to buy it from Goodwill.
From Timu and Shein.
No, seriously, Dennis. No, cheers. Like my comrade.
I want you to be consistent, right? Because when we talk about soup throwing stones, you say, well, unless we have police investigation, we have this, we have that. Now you are telling me the price of President Boakai's shoes just by looking at the brand.
You don't even worry about the shoe. If you want, I can go for the receipt for the course that was sold for him in New York the other day. Yeah, I can go ask the guy for the receipt. Those shoes cost over $500 for one suit that they were fitting him in.
All right. Let me go to the teacher here. Maybe you can tell more about chairs. Dr. Williams, I can see that you are jumping for joy because we're now going to have chairs in the classroom because you love the classroom.
Dennis, I'm jumping in exasperation, not joy.
Oh no!
Listen, when I heard the president make that pronouncement, two things came to mind. Who are his policy advisors? What are they producing for this president? For the level of anxieties of our people, where the country is, the expectations of the president, who's been in government for over 40 years. One child, one chair speaks very little about the vision of the office of the president. We have schools, we have buildings that are purported to be schools. They're not schools. Yeah, let's assume we even had the money for the chairs. Where will those chairs go? How are they going to go there? We have more pressing issues in the educational sector. And if the priority is to provide chairs for, for so-called institutions that almost do not exist, where are we going? Where are we going? It speaks volume about the president, the sophistication of the presidency. And this is hurting the country. It is hurting the governance process. It's hurting the country. Now, from a, and I that's coming from an educator, right? When you look at the whole governance process, Josiah Joker's pay grade is lower than the people who's on the who's on the declaration list. He's a director general. Those other people are ministers and deputy ministers. They're not on the same level. He cannot be the one leading the charge on what happens to their salary. Secondly, how do we how do we minimize and subjugate an important process of asset declaration to mere salary, losing one salary for not declaring when we should be firing people for not declaring within a specified time frame? When is the president going to show leadership in that regard? Because seemingly he's begging people to declare. Oh, if you don't declare, we'll use your salary. No, no, leadership has to be shown. Leadership has to come to the fore. And the way forward is to ensure that people lose their jobs. That people lose their jobs if they're not doing it. So there's a lack of leadership from the presidency that has the propensity to further undermine the already very fluid governance situation we have. One chair, one child, one chair. That's a job for us on the panel. That's a project for us on the panel. Who are wanting to put chairs in Solo Queen, Southtown, Grandsets. That's the job for us, not the president. Not the president or the presidency. There should be bigger and better things, more visionary, larger than life issues that the presidency should be handling because he has
Thank you.
access to the resources of the country. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe the Southtown Development Association can do that for Grand Crew. Then we have the Bapulu people. Tom, the president has some chairs. They said some chairs from China. They look like they were not enough. So we have to take the black salary.
As we speak right now, we're hearing that MCSS teachers are about to riot. Yeah? The superintendent goes to China, buy chairs when we have carpenters right there in the country.
Tom,
and these are just structural, fundamental things to address. And we're talking about one child, one chair.
Tom, George took most of your minutes, so you have 49 seconds to comment on this issue.
Yeah, I mean, he said everything. I think this could have been avoided by ensuring that people follow the law. Declare before you take office. Yeah, I think the law says if you don't, you are given 30 days to declare after you've taken office. We would not have gotten to this point if everyone had obeyed that law. And it was going to send a very good signal for the government based on the fact that they respected that law that was in place before they came to power. So the other thing I would say also is that on the side of the CSA, for me as a public financial management person, let's look at the resources that were going to go to those who are suspended. You are suspended, you cannot go to work, but yet the government was going to pay you equally as those who will wake up in the morning and go to work. Is that really fair? Is that equity? And I don't agree with the fact that Josiah Joker is below the level of maybe government officials. The CSA is a government entity that is in charge of human resource. Even in companies, you have the CEO and you have the HR director. If the HR rules say that you have to come to work 8 o'clock in the morning and the CEO does not come to work, he goes to club and he comes 10 in a day, the HR will apply the rules to the CEO. So I don't think that argument that Josiah Joker should have nothing to do with that is not something that we should go with. On the issue of the one child, one chair, this is already saying that there is a problem with chair in the schools. When you are taking this kind of minimum amount, how much is this? And my concern is that if you really drill down to people whose salary were had, it might be these commissioners that are in Sino County that could not declare their asset because the LACC is not there. Because the LACC does nothing but to sit down in Cinco. It's only because of asset declaration the other time they went to Nimba County and they took the forms and went there. That's the same way the PPCC is looking. They are just sitting in Monrovia. They don't go anywhere. They do everything in Monrovia. And so it is these old people in the villages who might not have had a chance, even with the suspension, to declare their asset. Maybe that their money going to buying the chairs. But I would say that this is a bigger problem with if there are no chairs in the classroom, then we need to solve the problem through better budgetary allocation. Because we now continuously have this money coming from people who did not declare their asset.
And they say that amount is 90,000. So if we do our, planning, I don't know how many chairs.
I mean, even the energy we are taking to discuss this is more than that 90,000.
So we are already losing. Yesterday I was watching it because I'm doing a show on Bella Yala. So I was watching some videos on Bella Yala, and the people are saying, we don't have water. You see, our major problem is we don't have water to drink. We have like 4,000 people living in this town. The company here. So, and I mean, it took time for me to really, I mean, if 4,000 people in a big town like this and they have to go to the creek or there are some wells, they say, we don't have water to drink. The only school we have here is junior high school. I mean, 4,000, I mean, it's a big town. So junior high? So the issue, so I don't know how many chairs, if they get up to high school, how many chairs they can have there from the 90,000. Let's hear from Monrovia. Do we have some callers on the line?
Not yet. Everybody listening.
All right. That means we are doing such a good job that they are understanding it very well. So let's come with, I know we have discussed a lot. Let's come to a solution. How do we move forward? With starting with the chairs. Mr. Nambe.
Yeah, Dennis. I mean, I hope we don't come out sounding like discounting the whole idea of providing chairs for our young students who are in. Yes, and I think it was Dr. Pearson. At this level, we even have to think about chairs. And then our problems are really, 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 really big problems. But because those are the givings. It's like you wake up in the morning.
Give me solution, Mr. Nambe.
You wake up, you expect to put your feet down and walk.
Should we carry our own chairs as a requirement? Or before you register, bring your own chair?
Well, for now, that's what it seems like because the chairs are not there. I think nobody expect to sit on the floor or on the ground. In other cases where they're sitting outside. But for now, yeah, that is, I guess, what our students have to do until, we can get our heads around the chair situation. But that is the fact that we're even discussing lack of chairs in this day and age is a problem. So our problem are way deeper. They're way deeper, than, anybody would imagine, I would think. Yes, for now, that seems to be, what is available to our students. You bring your own chair to school.
Thank you. So we'll be going around the room for your closing. And as we close, let's think of the way forward. How do we resolve all these issues that we have discussed tonight? Dr. William, you go first. You're closing. You have a minute.
Oh, I wish I could say more in terms of what can be done because there's a lot to be done. I think as far as education is concerned, the issues are multifaceted from human resource to infrastructure to policy to laws. There are many things that can be done. But as far as the chair situation is concerned, I think the president can seek to address more larger issues than just chairs. As far as the LSCC is concerned,
do the protest. As far as LU protests, what can we do as solution?
LU protests. You mean the soup situation?
Yeah, they protesting
Oh,
all the time.
yeah, I think the university and the leadership can put in place measures. I think I'm a soup veteran, and I say this without reserve that those caught, if caught to have been part of the riot that ended up at the LFA, and also as a former LFA Secretary General, I don't see the connection between the uh, the University of Liberia soup and naturalization issues so much so that they end up at the office of the LFA. I think those people should be expelled. Um, and I mean, which is symbolic and symptomatic of the level of lawlessness in the country. Some examples need to be set, but after the requisite
Thank you.
laws have been followed, yeah.
Thank you. Tom, let me hear your closing.
Well, from the demonstration of the US students to LACC to the Senate issue of the vehicle and the one child, one chair, these are all governance interrelated issues. Are we saying with the millions that we give to the Ministry of Education every year, millions, for over 20 years since the Civil War ended, they've not been able to get chairs into classrooms in Liberia? Next year also they will be giving millions and millions of US dollars. So I think, like I said from the beginning of the show, can we just rebuild the architecture, the governance architecture of the state moving forward, and really strengthen that social contract between the government and the citizens, so that we can be able to address all of these little issues, whether it's the car issue, it's the chair issue. Pay attention to where the dollars are going. If they are going for chairs, let them go for chairs, so that we don't get to the situation where people are suspended first, and then the little dollars that come from there, we say we are going to buy chairs. It was a good show. We need to talk more, especially at this point in time, so that we see whether some of these reform proposals that we put through can be picked up and the government can work on them moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. C.
Then it's on the chair thing, you're talking solutions. So when it comes to solution, that's my area. Solution number one on the chair, let the president and the vice president set their bulletproof cards if they are serious about providing chairs. I understand they spend our team $1.1 or $1.5 million on those bulletproof cards. They should set them right now, and they take that money and put a group of carpenters together who are Liberians and let them bake chairs. And those carpenters will hire a lot of young people, maybe the Zogos who are unemployed. That will be an opportunity for employment. And then the government now should put money in the budget, all right, to sustain that chair, production project to be going on, so that Sastan High in Sastan can be able to get some chairs because Georgia couldn't do it. All right, so that's solution right there. So set the bulletproof cars right now, we don't need them, and then put money in the budget so that we can sustain the project. When it comes to the issue of cars, the government, across all government, everybody should buy their car. My exception will be the president. My exception to be the chief justice and the vice president. All other people, let money be given to them and let them buy a car. And when they buy their cars, that car should be there for 6 years. The term of the government. Government not going to buy a car twice for any government official. It should never happen. They should all be able to buy their own cars, and they should be able to gas it. That will save us a lot of money. When it comes to the student protests, it is more about funding and leadership. So the way you address the funding, the University of Liberia, the government should make available 100 million Liberian dollars. 100 million US dollars as the budget for the university. The university budget, and Tom can correct me, been around 18, 20, 26, 36. That is very useless. It can't do anything. So the government of Liberia should set aside $100 million as the budget of the university. You address the funding issue, the teachers issue, the capacity issue. We will address that. Once government is not doing that, we will continue to have these children protesting. The children are responsible for the protest. The government and leadership is responsible for that. If they have everything there that they need, we'll have less protest as we are having right now. So those things will be, and when it comes to the LACC should be audited first.
Thank you. Clarence, you have a minute.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a good show today. I want to say thank you for having me. Thanks to our listeners out there. I'm getting inbox that people are following. They're excited about my being there. So I want to say thank you for being online with us and following the radio, Kia FM. Let me say this. I'm one of the proponents a few days about the technical vocational training centers we got across the country. So with the chairs issue, Dennis, if we have in carpentry as part of the technical trainings that we are having, why aren't we having those technical training facilities that is involved with carpentry being the one to build those chairs for us? And then those kids that are in school can have some money in their pockets, and those chairs can be distributed across the country through government sponsorship. We're talking about low housing facilities, schools, buildings that is in wreckage, in bad condition. We're having children doing masonry. They're doing how you call it, plumbing.
So we have 30 seconds.
Yeah, why can't they do all of those things and use them that are already in training? And when it comes to the issue about LACC, I think, as I said before, I want to commend them and I wish them well in their endeavors. I know they are afraid of President Boakai, but let them man up and do the job and be more clear about what they're doing. Set your priorities and make sure you go after priorities cases. Don't wait for everything to be given you before you can do your job.
Thank you. Mr. Namwe, you have the last word.
Well, thank you very much, Dennis. That's great. It was great being on. It was great. At least hopefully we bring a little bit of light to the discourse. I mean, look, I was reading, I think the last budget, I think the AITB, Agriculture and Industrial Training Bureau. I think those are some of the institutions we could look to for these kinds of, skill trainings. I think the budget appropriated to them was what, $4,000? So, it's really, and here we say, show me the money and I will know where, where you're headed. I don't know really what the priorities are in this government. So, I agree with, I think it's Dr. Pearson. Everywhere, the people should be made to pay for their cars. It should be part of your employment contract. Look, when you come here, we're giving you a car. It's going to cost you $30,000. We're going to deduct this money from your money over time. You like it, you take the job. You don't like it, you walk away. But I don't see why government is paying for cars for these people. I don't understand that. We don't have the money, and we act that we have it, and that is a problem. So yes, I agree with almost everything that has been said here in terms of where to cut and how to save. I think the whole concept of saving with gasoline, I think that's too minimalist. I think we need to go big. We need to scrap some of the agencies. Most of them are duplicating functions. I think there will be a lot of savings to be had in there. Thank you for the show.
Thank you, gentlemen. I want to thank our friends at Kia Radio for the show. At this time, we're going to conclude with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good day, have a good night, and God bless you. Bye-bye for now.
We are Liberians.